Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is Friday, June 14th, 2024. We get together most weekday mornings at this time to talk about tips, strategies, techniques. Our goal is to build financial literacy and increase access to capital. Many of you that gather with us, either live or listening to the recording, are our distribution partners. In other words, you share in that common mission of let's go build financial literacy in the small business marketplace, and let's help those entrepreneurs, those small business owners, access capital through that increased knowledge and the resources that you and I offer. So I have the world's easiest quiz to start with here on the screen. And so, of course, our topic is at the top, how to have a fundable business. We'll get to that in a second. And that's a very important topic. But let's first go through the quiz. What is it that gets you funded? Now, of course, we're talking about business funding because business funding is different than personal funding. We're going to focus on business funding today. So the question is, what gets you funded? Is it how badly you need money? I really need money. Or want money? Is it how badly I need money? Or is it simply, shoot, we have to have a fundable business? Obviously, it's choice number three. It doesn't matter how bad we want or need money. What we need to do is be fundable. Now, when we talk about business funding, that is a very different animal than personal funding. Very different. And actually, it's much more preferable. Well, why is that? Well, businesses can borrow a lot more money than people can. And also, qualifying for business funding in many ways is much easier than what people can qualify for. But we'll get to all that in a moment. But obviously, the answer is number three. I think you'll run into some people that want to ignore that. They'll just think, no, I really want money. Give it to me. I really need money. Give it to me. And then we come down to the point, well, sir, ma'am, do you have a fundable business? One of the challenges that you and I often face is people don't even know what it means to have a fundable business. I've asked that question many times, and one of the most common and interesting responses that I'll get is, yes, I have my EIN. So we have to be patient and loving and have a caring heart to help people get from where they're at to where they need to be. Because again, the typical entrepreneur, unlike you, unlike me, they don't even know what it takes to be fundable. So how could they be fundable? How could they try to be fundable if they don't really know? So that's a big part of what you and I do, is to educate. So let's scroll this on down. So I've got some bad news and I've got some good news. So we'll start with the bad news. Most entrepreneurs do not have a fundable business. Again, building back on the point I just made, a lot of them don't even know what it takes to have a fundable business. So that's the bad news. A lot of people that want money that don't qualify for it. That's bad. But what's good news? The good news is you and I can help people understand and have a fundable business, and the Startup Business Funding Package is a great resource for that. So I want to make sure today that you know how this works. Because if you understand accurately what you and I can do to help people, and then also, which is the better news, how you can get paid from it, I think you'll be empowered. I think you'll be excited because there's a huge opportunity. The opportunity is there's a bunch of small business owners / entrepreneurs that want and need money, but they're not fundable. You and I have a turnkey approach to helping them become fundable. So we're going to talk about that. But before I get into the nuts and bolts of what you and I will do for them, I really want to make sure that you understand what's in it for you. And I know most of you have a giving heart and you're here to help people, and making money is not the ultimate priority. But you need to look out for your own well-being as well. So let's make sure that we know what's in it for you. So through when we applied for the grant last year, 2023, and received the grant to roll out this program, it rolled out fourth quarter of last year. It was built around serving two target audiences. How do we help clients become fundable? And then how do we work with professionals like each of you, like Eric and like Aaron and like Francisco and Gilbert and Hugh? How do we work with professionals like each of you, generate a meaningful revenue stream from it? So for each client that enrolls in the Startup Business Funding Package, which we're going to talk about the deliverables and why it's good for the client in a moment, but I want to make sure you know what's in it for you. First of all, you get paid $2,500 today. And I realize for a lot of you, an extra $2,500 doesn't, move the needle much, but that's money in your pocket today. And then after the client receives funding, each round, each tranche, you're paid again. You might say, well, how much am I paid again? It's up to you, because through the startup program, you pick the performance fee. You pick it. The average that we see that our distribution partners are setting it at is 19.99%. Let's call it 20%. You could make it lower. You could make it higher. You could eliminate it altogether if you want. But for every 100,000 that the client receives, you make approximately 20,000. Now we're talking, right? Because if you're talking 20,000 from the performance fee and 2,500 that you got paid day one, you're at what, 22,500 per client or more. It's subject to the amount of their capital raise. We've been talking about different uses of funds. Maybe some people want to buy real estate. Some people want to buy equipment. Some people just need cash. They need working capital to start or grow a business. It works the same. If what they need is a fundable business, then our startup business funding package is an excellent resource to accomplish that. So before I get into what's in it for the client and what we provide to the client and how it works from the client perspective, does anyone have questions on what's in it for you? Because if you assimilate this and you understand it, you'll want to go educate entrepreneurs, you'll want to enroll entrepreneurs, and you'll be able to generate a meaningful income. So any questions that any of you have about what's in it for you, and then we're going to go over and talk about what's in it for the client. Okay, well, no questions right now. If you have any, just type them into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. All right, so where we started with is we want to help clients have a fundable business. We realize that most of them don't know what that means, or they have a false understanding. They think they understand, and often they don't. So one of the things that we've put together is a really nice educational message, and I'll click on it here. I won't play it all the way through because I don't want to use our time in such a way, but we'll give it just a moment to populate here. And I'll pause it. So this has the arrow with the 4 dots, and it talks about the 4 phases. And if you're not familiar with this, you might want to watch this. Again, it's on chapmanloanprogram.org. So this describes it from the client's perspective. And if you scroll down under the About Us and Resources and come underneath the, well, here at the bottom, Certification Module 1, this is teaching off the same graphic, but it's teaching you how to use this tool, where this version that's embedded, it's the same tool, the same graphic, but it's just from the client's perspective. So with that being said, let's move on and get into what do we do? What do you and I do to help clients have a fundable business? Because there's often this breakdown. Yeah, I want to get money for real estate under my business. That sounds really good. Give me the money. Well, do you have a fundable business, sir, ma'am? Often they don't. So we need to help clients have a fundable business to get business funding, regardless if the use of funds is real estate, equipment, working capital, so forth. So let's talk about when we applied for the grant, what is incorporated in this. The first thing that we provide clients through or participants through the Startup Business Funding Package. And remember, you're paid the day that they enroll. You're paid $2,500 today when they enroll, and you're also paid a performance fee each time they receive funding. You pick the performance fee, or you could eliminate it if you want. The first thing that we do for clients in the Startup Funding Package is get them some immediate funding offers. So this allows them to see what they qualify for now at a baseline. It'll vary how many offers they get, how much it is. They can accept the offers they want. There's no hard inquiries for them to receive offers, but it allows them to put some working capital in their pocket now. Now, also, that generates a performance fee for you, right? Because the performance fee, if you want to charge your clients that, which you don't have to, every time that they receive funding, you're paid a performance fee. So that's the first deliverable. What's the next thing we do? Well, now we're ready to go build a fundable business for them. And there's 4 phases, which is covered in this video, which I know is way too small for you to see at this time, but you can always go to chapmanloanprogram.org and watch this video if you're not familiar with it. The first phase is about building the infrastructure of a business. At the most basic level of having a credible business entity is having a good address. If we want business funding, now again, we're talking about business funding, not personal funding. Personal funding, you don't need these things, but for business funding, we do. So the first thing we need for to have a fundable business is a good address, not a residential address, not a post office box, not one of those shared WeWork. Regis needs to be a unique commercial address. Well, we know a lot of people don't have that. Therefore, when we applied for the grant, received the grant, it's built in. We provide every participant a unique business address for free. So that's the most basic element. Oh, so great. I have an address. Now I'm ready to go to funding. I have a fundable business. Go back to this. Does just having an address give me a fundable business? Of course not. That's not enough. Is it an important element? Is it an essential element? Yes. But is that all that it takes? Of course not. Of course not. So then we actually need to have an entity. The entity needs to be filed with the Secretary of State and in good standing. Now, if the client already has that, great. And same for the address. If the client already has a good address, great. If it's not broke, why fix it? Move on. Once we make sure we have a good address, then do we have an entity in good standing with the Secretary of State? If so, great, move forward. If not, we do that, and we do that for free. Part of the grant, we file with the Secretary of State, get the entity. So we can either use a client's current entity or create a new one. But is that important to have a fundable business? Of course it is, because we're talking about business funding. We need a business. Then we get the EIN and bank account. So those are really what's included. If you capture these 4 bullets, that's the synopsis of the first bullet here, which is phase 1, having kind of that critical infrastructure. So when we come back to, well, do most people understand what it takes to have a fundable business? No. You could teach them that by using this graphic, and we teach you how to teach others here in Certification Module 1, or you could just play this video for them. All right, so any questions on the first of 4 phases? Because there's 4 phases to creating a fundable business. Most entrepreneurs don't know what it takes to be fundable, and furthermore, most of them don't have that. You and I can help any client have a fundable business through the Startup Business Funding Package, and from that, you get paid, in my opinion, a lot of money. You're making over $20,000 for every client that we help. Any questions so far on this infrastructure? Just type questions or comments into Q&A. It's like chat. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, do we have a fundable business? No, not yet, but we have the foundation to build off of. So, and again, if a client already has any or all these elements, great. That just makes it faster. It's not a problem. So then we move on. What do we move to? We need that business to show that it pays its bills on time, that it has a strong business credit profile. Well, how does that happen? Well, in phase 2, which is the second bullet here, which I know you can't see, but you can go watch the video if you've not seen it, is we add trade lines, real trade lines, primary trade lines. These could be real estate trade lines, they could be company car trade lines, they could be business credit cards, a lot of different options, but we're adding real trade lines that report on the company's credit profile like they're done in Bradstreet. So that's the second element that we need to accomplish to have a fundable business, because we've said a couple times, a lot of clients, they don't know what it means to have a fundable business. They don't have it. They want money. They may need money, but we need to help them have a fundable business. That's what you and I do. You make about $22,500 each time you help them. This is the process we help them with. So first thing we need to do is get a good entity structure set up. If they already have it, great. Then we need to make sure that the business has trade lines reporting to show that it's credible. And so we do that. We good? Is that enough? Oh, so now we have a fundable business? No. Now we move over to what's called phase 3, which is the third bullet. Again, I know it's too small to read, but you can come watch the video if you want on Chapman Loan Program. Now we need to make sure that we have good financials. Now, someone that's not financially literate will say, oh, no, you don't understand. I don't need financials. I've got a new business. That's the worst sign of financial illiteracy anyone could ever express. Sure, you may have a new business, but we need to have strong financials. Otherwise, we're not fundable. Well, it's a new business. It can't have strong financials. That's ridiculous. That is wrong. Don't let people convince themselves, and certainly don't let them convince you that that's the truth. It's not the truth. So we know that having strong financials is important. We built that into the grant subsidized program. So one of the things that we do is we actually transfer $10,000. We call it quick cash. We literally transfer $10,000 to each participant in the program. It's referenced here in phase 3. So they have collateral. Collateral? Why would I need collateral? Well, collateral is normal in loans, right? Collateral is what's pledged. So if the borrower doesn't repay the lender has something to try to mitigate their losses. So collateral is important. And it's wrong to think that small businesses can't have collateral, and we'll provide as much collateral as they need. Now, automatically, we transfer the first $10,000 to them, but it can be more. And then ultimately, we need to go to funding, which is phase 4, the fourth element here. Well, where do we go to funding? And Bernard was asking yesterday, what are the lenders? Well, there's almost an infinite number of lenders, but we need to match the client, the participant, the borrower to the right type of lender based upon their mitigating circumstances. So we along this way here, we're going to be asking the client for their business plan. Business plan? Why do I need a business plan? Well, because the business owner, the client, has all this information in their head. Let's go to Hugh, for example. Hugh's a real person here on the training. And so Hugh's smart. He's fucking intelligent, but he knows what he needs money for in his head. But we need to be able to convey that to the lender, and then we need to be able to build a funding plan based upon what Hugh wants. Does Hugh want 100,000 or does Hugh want 100 million? Does Hugh want money to buy equipment? Does he want it to buy real estate? Does he just need cash, working capital to start or grow a business? Does he want to acquire an existing business? I know Hugh knows that, but we don't know that, and the lender doesn't know that. So that's another important element, is having a business plan. It doesn't have to be some academic business plan, but it needs to be at least an outline of here's what the business is and what it does and what it needs money for and what it's going to use the money for, called uses of funds, where we want the money to come from, called sources of funds, financial projections, which shows that we can afford to pay it back. So one of the things that we can do if clients need it is to build out that lender compliant business plan and financial projections. So based upon all of that, then we go to funding. Funding. Imagine that. And I know that's what the client wants to start with, right? The client would just say, well, let's skip all this other bullshit. Let's just go to funding. Doesn't that sound good to you? Well, if you don't have a fundable business, there's nowhere to get the funding. Plus, we don't know where to get the funding because where the funding comes from is based upon the mitigating circumstances of the client. So phase 4, which again, I know it's too small to see, but you can go to chapmanloanprogram.org and watch this video if you've not done it already, is going to funding. Many different sources. Could be SBA, non-SBA, could be term loans, could be lines of credit, lots of different scenarios. But that is the last step, not the first step, because we need to have a fundable business and we need to understand the nuances of the funding that the client wants. Every once in a while, you'll have a client, I think Jeff had this, where the client just says, well, just give me as much money as fast as I can. I'll take whatever I can get. Well, that's a consumer mindset. That's like, well, let's go apply for a bunch of personal loans and let's see what sticks. From a business perspective, that's not the way that it works, right? We need to create a plan, the documentation of how much funding we want for the business, what we're going to use it for. And then we need to show that we can afford to repay it. I know some of you say, well, if it's a new start business, how are they going to be able to demonstrate that they can afford to repay it? They're pre-revenue. In other words, that they've not made money yet. Well, that's where the financial projections are crucial. We create month by month, if they want us to, we create month by month financial projections projecting out 36 months. That's what lenders expect to see in many cases, and especially if the client has not been profitable in the past. That by getting the infusion of funds, how are they going to use it, and how is that going to allow them to be able to repay the loan? Because to no surprise, if the borrower wants a loan, the lender expects to be paid back. Now, are there types of funding that doesn't have to be paid back? Absolutely. That can fall into the equity bucket where we're getting investors to give us money, or that could fall into the gifts and grants or earned income. There's actually 4 different sources of capital, as we've talked about before. But from a loan perspective, a debt perspective, we need to show the lender that we can afford to pay them back. So there's many different sources of funding. Some of them are unique. Some of them are different than mainstream, and the Chapman is one of those. But most lenders have positives and negatives. And so for the Chapman Fund, for example, this comes from a taxing authority, not from a bank. That's a good thing. Bad thing, they'll max out at $250,000. They will not do more than $250,000. Now, could we do multiple projects, $250,000 apiece? That would be one option. Could we start with the Chapman Fund and then go to other sources afterwards? Sure, and we don't have to go through the Chapman Fund. But the bottom line is we need to have a fundable business to get funding. Most people you interface with, they don't know what it takes to have a fundable business. They've not learned, or they didn't remember the 3 C's. Now, you and I know the 3 C's like the back of our hand. Credit, meaning business credit. Do we build business credit? Of course. That is one of the deliverables, phase 2. Second of the 3 C's is collateral. Oh, I need collateral? Sure you do. That's okay. We provide collateral. We address that in phase 3. And then capacity, the 3rd C. So, yes, any business can get funding. Yes, you and I can help any business qualify legally and ethically through the Startup Business Funding Package. Any questions on what you and I do for clients in this proposition? Any questions on how you're paid? That's our goal today, to make sure that you know that this is a resource. Aaron says he wants us to open a gay bar. And how do we, no, just bar, not gay bar, bar. How do we help them? Yeah, we can absolutely help them. So Aaron, what you or anyone would do if you have a client that would benefit from the startup business funding package, we're going to make sure that you have the agreement template. The agreement template allows you to edit it the way that you want. And one of those editable elements, Aaron, is the performance fee. You decide, do you want your clients to pay a performance fee, which is a success fee, money paid after the capital raise or not? And if so, how much? So you're in control of that, which is great. If you don't have that editable client agreement, we need to get that to you. We need to get you set up properly so you can do this. So our phone number is here. If you know someone that's just ready to come get funding, ChapmanLoanProgram.org is here. There's a two-step process, step 1 and then step 2. However, if you want to be paid for these transactions, we need to do it a little bit differently. We need to get you set up so you're authorized as a distribution partner to be able to help clients with this program. And that starts with you going to makingmillionaires.org. But of course, you can always call us if you need individualized assistance. So let's go through any questions you have. But hopefully what we've covered in less than 30 minutes is most small business owners want or need money to start or grow a business. However, that's not enough. They need to have a fundable business. Most clients, most small business owners don't know what that means, and they don't have a fundable business. That's the bad news. What's the good news? You and I can help them 100% of the time. There's no risk to the client. How do we help them create a fundable business with these deliverables through the startup program? How do you benefit? You make around $20,000, a little more, for each person that you help. If you're not set up yet to help them, you need to reach out to us and say, hey, guys, you've dropped the ball. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to enroll people in the startup business funding package. We're going to resolve that. All right, looks like Anthony has a question. If you can go ahead and type it into the Q&A. So this is one resource, right? This is one resource. This is different than the funding proposal campaign, for example. So we can bring that up. So let's bring up fundingproposal.org. So many of you have a landing page that looks like this. This is a different campaign, isn't it? It's a good campaign. You should have your own landing page, but this is different than the startup program, right? Because the startup program has some specific deliverables. It starts the same, granted. This bullet, just so you know, this bullet is the same as this proposition. So it starts the same. But what are some differences of the startup funding package? Well, you can see that there's bulleted deliverables that we include in the startup package that's not included in the free funding proposal. Now, if you want, you can start people with a free funding proposal. That's fine. And we can get them an initial tranche, get them initial offers. Then if you wanted, you could take them from there and pivot them over to the startup package if you want. Or people could come straight into the startup package. It doesn't matter. It's like going to the restaurant. Can you just go in and order your entree? Sure, you can go in and just order your steak dinner. Well, no, I want a salad first. Well, great, then order a salad first. So these do not compete with each other, but they're two different resources. This resource allows individuals to come through the landing page that you get for free. They come through, they have no upfront cost, they get free funding offers, and we promise, we guarantee to work with them to raise at least $100,000. This is what's offered through our affiliate channel. Every one of you should have a landing page. If you don't have a landing page, I would be calling us today saying, where the hell is my landing page? I want my landing page. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to make money. So bringing people through the landing page, it's real simple. You refer them in, we do all the work, you have no other obligation, you make 5 points of their capital raise. Well, they're guaranteed a minimum of 100,000, thus you're going to make at least 5,000. So that is fine. Alternatively, we have the startup package, which is a more involved program, right? It has more deliverables. First deliverable the same, but it has more deliverables. All right, anyone have questions understanding the difference between the two, or anyone need help? And probably for individualized help, best thing to do is pick up the phone, call us, and let's visit. So you might be someone that's just looking for capital, and now you see kind of side by side the two different resources. Maybe you're someone that wants to get paid to help other people. Well, how do you address that? Go to makingmillionaires.org, get set up, get your free landing page, and then we can take it from there. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time. We will be back on Monday morning, same time, same place. If there's anything that we can do, let us know. I look forward to working with each of you. We want to make sure that you're generating an adult income by helping people. And we want to make sure that we're helping entrepreneurs get funded. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. See you Monday. Bye.